Something very few people know about Bluey is that despite being such a cheerful little dog, she has a brother who passed away before the show even began. Do you know everything about the tragedy involving Bluey's brother? Movie. This sad fact about the Healer family has never been stated directly on the show, especially because we are talking about a cartoon made for young children. However, it was confirmed by Joe Brumm himself, the creator of Bluey, during an interview. Many people believe the series will never talk directly about this tragedy, and maybe that is true. But what if the Bluey movie, which is set to be released in theaters in 2027, speaks more openly about her brother's death? The release of a movie is much more special than the release of a regular episode, and it would be the perfect opportunity to explore subjects that are too heavy for the show. That means the movie could reveal more about this child who lost his life far too soon, including, for example, what his name was. We have no way of knowing what he was called, so we are going to call him Billy, which starts with a B, just like the names of his sisters. We are only getting started with the terrible truth you need to know about Bluey's lost brother. The moment has come! Let's enjoy another Cinewave together! Alternate reality. If Billy's death ends up being important to the movie, we can imagine something extremely emotional happening. What if Bluey's family starts imagining what life would have been like if the boy had survived and grown up alongside his sisters? If he was born before Bluey, Billy would have been the girl's older brother. It would be incredible to see this imaginary world where the tragedy never happened, and where Bluey and Bingo were able to grow up alongside their older brother, who would join in their games and keep an eye on them so they did not cause too much trouble. The saddest part is that every member of the Healer family would have a reason to wonder what life would be like if Billy were still alive. Bluey and Bingo probably wish they had an older brother, while Chili and Bandit were the ones most deeply affected by this trauma. They must have needed years to overcome what happened and move forward. Memories. Although the series never directly talks about Chili losing a child in the past, it was subtly referenced in the episode The Show, even before Joe Brumm confirmed the tragedy. In that episode, Bluey and Bingo decided to put on a little performance about their parents to show how they fell in love and eventually had the two girls. However, when Bingo played pregnant Chili for the first time, the balloon under the little girl's shirt suddenly popped. That left both Chili and Bandit frozen, and the only thing that explains how serious they became at that moment is that they were reminded of Billy. And this also means two things. The first is that Bluey's parents still think about Billy and feel sad about what happened, because the boy left an emptiness in their hearts. The second thing it means is that Billy passed away while he was still inside Chili's belly. In other words, Bluey's mother unfortunately suffered a miscarriage. Spirit. Although Bluey is fairly grounded in most episodes, it is also a show that is played with the idea that supernatural things exist in its universe. What few people know is that there is a very strong possibility that the Healer family has been followed by something paranormal throughout the entire series, and this paranormal presence would actually be Billy's spirit. Many people believe that when someone passes away, their spirit stays close to their relatives in order to protect them, almost like a guardian angel. This belief is especially common when we are talking about the spirits of children who are pure of heart. Since Bluey likes to make subtle references to the supernatural, could Billy really be protecting his family? Well, there is one episode that may have confirmed this without anyone noticing. We are talking about the episode Fairies. More specifically, the final scene when Bingo sees a real fairy that appears to help her complete her heart made out of dominoes. Bandit did not see the fairy when he entered the room, suggesting that only children are able to see her. But what if this creature is not simply a fairy, but actually Billy's spirit, taking that form to help his little sister? That would change everything we thought about this episode and make us realize that Bluey is a much more magical show than we ever expected. Would you also like to see Bluey learning more about her late brother? If so, comment down below. #Billy. Planets. Another episode that gives us a clue that Billy's spirit is watching over his family is Sleepy Time, in which we follow the little girl through a dream where she travels through space and visits other planets. It turns out that there is a secret message hidden in these scenes, involving the fact that Bingo comes out of the Earth as if the planet were an egg. Meanwhile, Bluey seems to have come out of Venus. Things start to connect when we remember that Venus is the second planet in the solar system and Earth is the third. In other words, this represents Bluey being Chili's second child, child, while Bingo is her third. Now, do you know which planet comes first in the solar system? The answer is Mercury. However, Mercury remains intact in this dream, which means that nobody came out of it. In other words, Chili's first child was never born because he passed away before that could happen. That is incredibly deep, but it also raises an important question. If nobody in this family talks openly about Billy, how does Bingo know he existed? All of this was happening inside the little girl's dream. Even if she only knows it subconsciously, she must somehow be aware of the tragedy that still haunts this family. And that starts to make sense if Billy's spirit has been communicating with his little sister through her dreams. Maybe he took the form of Bingo's stuffed animal, which stayed by her side throughout this adventure. We are starting to realize that Bingo may be Billy's favorite sister, since his spirit seems to appear to her more often. Reincarnation. Another possibility, which is even more shocking, is that Billy and Bingo could actually be the same person. Okay, it is natural to wonder how that could possibly happen, and we are going to answer that question with just one word: reincarnation. Some people believe that when a person dies, they are reborn in another body, often without remembering anything about their past life. According to this theory, that is exactly what happened to Billy. Because he loved his family so much and did not want to leave them so soon, the boy was eventually reborn as Bingo, the youngest daughter of Chili and Bandit. That would explain many curious details about the little girl. For example, even though she is the youngest, she often shows more responsibility than Bluey herself. Most younger children tend to be loud, but Bingo is well behaved and loves helping her parents, while Bluey is more disobedient. We see this more clearly in the episode Mini Bluey, in which the two sisters switch places. Alive. So far, we have been considering the possibility that Billy passed away, since Joe Brumm himself confirmed it. But we have to ask ourselves the following question: what if all of this is one big lie created by Bluey's creator to hide the fact that Bluey really does have an older brother, but he is still alive to this day? It may seem extreme to lie about something like that, but Joe Brumm already has a history of misleading fans who create theories by placing false clues about those same theories both inside and outside the show. One example is how he gave Bluey's future daughter, who appears in the episode Surprise, features that resemble both Mackenzie and Jean-Luc. After all, many fans believe that Bluey will marry one of them when she grows up. Since her daughter has features from both characters, there is no way to know for sure which one of them she will marry. So it is possible that Billy really does exist, but never actually lost his life. Kidnapped. If Billy really is alive, one explanation for why he has never appeared until now could be that even though he did not pass away, the boy was kidnapped when he was still a puppy, shortly after he was born. There have been cases of mothers who lose their child during childbirth and then steal another mother's baby so they can pretend that the child belongs to them. In that situation, it is even possible that the Healer family truly believed that Billy had passed away. Imagine if, in the Bluey movie, they found Billy and discovered that he had been raised by another family. The movie story could even follow Bluey, Bingo, and their parents as they try to bring Billy back or simply learn to accept that he now has a new family. You know what would be awesome? Subscribing right now and getting all our videos straight on YouTube. Rusty. It is impossible to think about Billy without seeing his story as a tragedy, but have you ever stopped to wonder why they decided to make Bluey's brother lose his life before he was even born? As strange as this may sound, Rusty is the one to blame. Don't worry, we are not saying that Rusty, one of Bluey's friends, took her brother's life. Far from it. The truth is that Rusty was originally supposed to be the main character of the series. That's right, it was only later that Bluey took his place as the star of the show. It is no coincidence that the two of them look so similar, so the fact that she lost a brother may be a small Easter egg referencing the original version of Rusty, who would have been the main character of the series. Of course, Rusty is still alive and remains a fairly important character, but he is not exactly the same Rusty from the show's original concepts. Allergy. Would you believe us if we said we may have discovered the exact reason Billy lost his life inside his mother's womb? We should warn you that this possible explanation only makes everything even sadder, because it may all have happened because Chili was suffering from a severe allergy. In the episode Daddy Drop-Off, Bandit packs a lunchbox with gluten-free food for Bingo, which could mean that she is allergic to gluten. This becomes even easier to believe when we remember the episode Bumpy and the Wise Old Wolfhound, in which Bingo has to spend several days in the hospital because of some kind of health problem. If we put the pieces together, it makes sense to believe that this happened because Bingo ate something containing gluten and suffered an allergic reaction. If that is true, it is possible that this allergy came from one of Bingo's parents. It would make sense for Chili to have the same allergy as her daughter, since Bingo inherited several of her traits, including her appearance. With that in mind, the tragedy practically writes itself. If Chili unknowingly ate gluten and her allergy was truly serious, she may have become sick enough for Billy, the puppy growing inside her womb, to unexpectedly lose his life. life. That would make everything even worse because it would mean that Billy might still be alive if his mother had never eaten that gluten. We hope this is not true because if it is, Chili must still blame herself for it to this day. We've prepared 2 videos you're going to love. Pick one and keep having fun here with Teen Videos.